A warm welcome to all our viewers. I'm your host, Shivangi Mishra, and you're watching another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show. India is leveling up its diplomacy, building stronger alliances, and amplifying its global game. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi undertook a state visit to Israel, ties got a major upgrade. Welcomed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the focus was clear: defense, AI, cybersecurity, fintech, and trade. New Delhi and Tel Aviv aren't just collaborating, they are syncing strategies in a region where geopolitics is shifting fast. India and Israel complement each other. India brings scale and Indo Pacific reach, while Israel offers cutting edge technology and defense innovation. That synergy was evident during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's state visit, signaling a partnership moving beyond traditional defense ties into AI, cybersecurity, manufacturing, and agriculture. Following talks with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the two sides signed 17 agreements advancing joint defense production and technology transfer, while also pushing forward discussions on a potential free trade agreement.
रक्षा के क्षेत्र में हमारा दशकों पुराना विश्वसनीय सहयोग रहा है। पिछले वर्ष हुए एमओयू से इसमें नए आयाम जुड़ेंगे। हम मिलकर जॉइंट डेवलपमेंट, जॉइंट प्रोडक्शन और ट्रांसफर ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी की दिशा में आगे बढ़ेंगे।
During the joint engagements, Benjamin Netanyahu called the visit a defining moment for India-Israel ties, describing Prime Minister Narendra Modi as a trusted friend and a strong pillar of the partnership. He signaled that this isn't just diplomacy as usual. It is a next-level alliance set to expand across strategy, innovation, and big-ticket economic collaborations.
I want to tell you how deeply and from the heart we feel both our personal friendship and the friendship between our governments and our peoples, and may this continue and flourish and strengthen, as I'm sure it will as a result of this visit. Thank you, Narendra, and thank you all.
Highlighting the technology dimension of that partnership, Israel's Special Envoy for Trade and Innovation pointed to artificial intelligence as a key area where both countries can jointly shape the future.
Israel's got the highest concentration of AI talent in the world. We have leading AI technologies. We know India also, in your Bangalore Silicon Valley region, you also are very advanced with AI innovation. AI is the future. And if India and Israel can actually ally, we can reshape or shape the future in the best possible way.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, paying heartfelt tribute to the victims of the Holocaust, a moment of reflection that went beyond protocol. It underscored a partnership grounded in remembrance, resilience, and shared values. Speaking alongside Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at a joint press conference, Modi said, "Humanity must never become a victim of conflict," as he reiterated India's support for efforts toward peace in Gaza, blending moral charity with diplomatic outreach.
Humanity must never become a victim of conflict. गाजा पीस प्लान से शांति का एक रास्ता बना है। भारत ने इन प्रयासों का पूर्ण समर्थन किया है। भविष्य में भी हम सभी देशों के साथ संवाद और सहयोग जारी रखेंगे।
India and Israel signal a partnership that blends strategy with sentiment, from defense co-production to shared democratic values. In a rapidly shifting geopolitical landscape, New Delhi and Tel Aviv are not just strengthening ties, they are shaping a future-focused alliance built to last. Tensions along the Pakistan-Afghanistan frontier have flared up yet again, with fresh fighting reported in eastern Nangarhar just days after Pakistani airstrikes struck targets inside Afghan territory. While Islamabad insists it was acting against terror sanctuaries, Kabul alleges these strikes killed civilians, including women and children. The latest escalation puts Pakistan's counter-terror strategy under scrutiny and deepens concerns over its increasing regional isolation.
Fresh fighting broke out recently between Afghanistan and Pakistani forces in eastern Nangarhar, with both sides reportedly using heavy artillery. Casualties have already been confirmed. The clashes come just days after Pakistan carried out late-night airstrikes inside Afghan territory, and Operation Kabul says struck residential compounds rather than militant camps. Entire structures in Gardi Khas village were reduced to rubble, with families trapped beneath debris. Rescue efforts are still underway as villagers dig through collapsed homes in search of survivors.
تیره شپه د ننګرهار ولایت بیسود ولسوالۍ اړوند ګردي کس سیمه کې د شپې 12 بجې د پنجابي دښمن جټ تیارو بمباران کړی دی او په نتیجه کې زموږ عام ولس زنانه ماشومان سپینګیري په ډېره بېرحمۍ سره د شپې په ناوخته په دې روژه کې شهیدان کړي دي او دې سره یو لوی جنایت تر سره شوی دی.
دا د شپې 12 بجې چې کله تیاره راغله وګرځېدله موږ ویلې که زلزله د غون خلک کورونه کوټونه بار راووته د هغې نه وروسته بمبار یې وکړو. بیا چې موږ دې کور ته رالو دې کور کې یو کس ژوندی پاتې و نور 2-3 کسان یې نور هم ایستلي خپل باقي چې 17 کسان غون شهیدان شوي.
Taliban officials have condemned the strikes as a blatant violation of Afghan sovereignty. Islamabad insists the operation was intelligence-based selective targeting of 7 terrorist hideouts belonging to the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and the Islamic State Khorasan province. Pakistani authorities claim the strikes were retaliation for recent suicide attacks, including the bombing of a mosque in Islamabad and an assault in Bannu that killed security personnel. However, critics argue that Pakistan's repeated reliance on cross-border force reflects a deeper failure, its long-standing policy of cultivating and tolerating terrorist networks that have now turned against it.
Pakistan and Afghanistan have been having a running, feud over their borders for quite some time. Of course, historically always, right? And surprisingly for Pakistan, when Taliban came to power, it assumed that Taliban would very much look up to Pakistan for guidance in terms of foreign affairs and strategic security relations. Taliban clearly did not want that. And there are differences. One. Secondly, yes, Pakistan is facing, radicalism, of course, and terrorism inside its own territory, especially on the Afghan-Pakistan border.
For years, Islamabad has accused Kabul of harboring terrorists, but the Taliban administration has consistently denied allowing Afghan soil to be used for attacks inside Pakistan. The latest strikes come despite recent diplomatic gestures, including the Saudi-mediated release of 3 Pakistani soldiers by Kabul. Instead of de-escalation, the region has witnessed renewed artillery exchanges and rising civilian casualties. Kabul has vowed a major but firm response, warning it will not remain silent in the face of what it calls aggression. Security analysts note that since the Taliban's return to power in 2021, Pakistan's western border has become increasingly unstable. Militant ambushes, suicide bombings, and cross-border shelling have intensified, exposing Islamabad's internal security vulnerabilities. Funerals for police officers killed in recent militant attacks in northwest Pakistan further underscore the deteriorating security environment. The porous frontier, long shaped by Islamabad's strategic depth doctrine, now appears to be a blowback zone where militant groups once seen as assets have evolved into liabilities.
Time now for Asia This Week, the stories from across the continent.
Iran and the United States are sliding rapidly towards military conflict as hopes fade for a diplomatic solution to their standoff over Tehran's nuclear program, officials on both sides and diplomats across the Gulf and Europe say. Iran's Gulf neighbors and its enemy Israel now consider a conflict to be more likely than a settlement, these sources say, with Washington building up one of its biggest military deployments in the region since the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Israel's government believes Tehran and Washington are at an impasse and is making preparations for possible joint military action with the United States, though no decision has been made yet on whether to carry out such an operation, said a source familiar with the planning. It would be the second time the US and Israel have attacked Iran in less than a year, following US and Israeli airstrikes against military and nuclear facilities last June. Regional officials say oil-producing Gulf countries are preparing for a possible military confrontation that they fear could spin out of control and destabilize the Middle East. The weeks leading up to elections in Nepal have traditionally brought a rush of energy to the country's printing hubs. Press machines would rattle through the day and night, churning out party flags, banners, caps and badges in a blur of color and noise. The sharp scent of fresh ink would hang heavily in the air, a familiar sign that campaign season had arrived. The smell of printing inks has become thinner this year as the orders have slumped in comparison to that of the year 2022. Election campaigning in Nepal has rapidly shifted from traditional door-to-door outreach and printed materials to digital platforms, especially social media. Screen printers in Kathmandu's Bug Bazaar say campaigns once focused on physical visibility, but candidates now prioritize online engagement. For the March 5 parliamentary elections, parties have significantly increased spending on paid promotions. The shift follows new election ethics introduced by the Election Commission Nepal, limiting physical campaign materials and promoting transparency through partnerships with Meta and TikTok. Sportswear brand On Running has opened a factory in Busan of South Korea using robots to make running shoes and plans more robot factories in the United States and Europe as it tries to speed up manufacturing and delivery. Tariff hikes imposed by the United States, supply chain disruptions and geopolitical risks are driving some retailers and brands to explore nearshoring manufacturing or bringing it closer to the end consumer. On currently sources 90% of its shoes from third-party manufacturers in Vietnam and 10% from Indonesia, according to its latest annual report. The company first unveiled its Light Spray marathon running shoe made with a robot arm spring material onto a mold to create a sock-like upper during the Paris Olympics in 2024. The factory in Busan with 32 robots is a major expansion from On's first such factory in Zurich, which has only 4 and started production in July last year. It can produce about 1,000 pairs of shoes a day, with the spray-on method condensing traditional upper manufacturing, a 200-step process across multiple factories into a single automated process. Steep tariffs imposed by the US on sportswear manufacturing hubs like Vietnam and China have hurt the industry over the past year, driving up costs.
Women in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan are leading rare street protests against severe water shortages and prolonged power cuts, accusing Islamabad of systematic neglect. Viral videos from Gilgit city show residents braving freezing temperatures to demand basic amenities and political accountability. Activists now say the unrest reflects deeper constitutional and governance questions in the disputed region. Our report. What began as a local grievance in Gilgit city has now evolved into a wider expression of public anger. Residents say drinking water reaches homes for barely half an hour after gaps of 10 to 15 days. Electricity supply remains erratic, crippling daily life and disrupting water pumping systems. Despite sub-zero temperatures, protesters, including young women, have taken to the streets, demanding access to electricity, sanitation and employment. Viral footage of a woman confronting authorities has amplified the movement across the region.
10 दिन के बाद पानी आता है, वो भी गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से नहीं है, वो पानी बासिक पालों की तरफ से अपनी मदद आप के तहत हम लोगों ने अपनी ताउन से वो बनाए हैं बिजली, वो क्या कहते हैं, पानी तो है लेकिन वहाँ पंप चलाने के लिए बिजली नहीं है। तो 11 दिन बाद पानी आता है, तो ये हमारी औरतों की बदकिस्मती है। अब देखो, सोचो, गिलगित में इतना बड़ा दरिया सिंध के नाम से नीचे गुजर रहा है, लेकिन हम पानी के बगैर प्यासे इधर। तो ये कोई इंसानियत है? जो भी हुकूमत आती है अपने जेब भरती है, अपनी तजोरियाँ भरती है, वो चली जाती है, नौकरियाँ भी लेकर जाते हैं।
Protesters allege that while millions are spent on administrative projects, essential infrastructure remains neglected. They argue that although the Darya Singh River flows below the settlement, insufficient pumping facilities and unreliable power supply leave entire neighborhoods without consistent water access. Residents further claim that governance structures in the region lack accountability and responsiveness to local needs. Political activist Senghe Sering has backed the women-led protests, describing them as a part of a broader, rights-based movement in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan. He argues that the crisis is not merely administrative failure, but reflects decades of political marginalization.
गिलगित बल्तिस्तान की जो ख़वातीन हैं वो अभी अब आज़ादी की और हुकूक़ की तहरीक में आगे आ रही हैं। कल एक ख़ातून की वीडियो वायरल हुई है, वो गिलगित सिटी में अपने इलाके में जो उनकी सहूलियात हैं उनके नापेद होने की वजह से, उनकी कमी की वजह से वो एहतजाज कर रही थी, जिसमें वो कह रही थी कि उनके इलाके में 10-15 दिन में मुश्किल से आधे घंटे के लिए पानी आता है, बिजली नहीं है, सैनिटेशन के इश्यूज़ हैं, मकामी जो बच्चे हैं उनके पास रोज़गार नहीं है। और वहाँ पे उन्होंने कहा कि पाकिस्तान के जो हुक्मरान हैं वो यहाँ के काबिज़ हैं, वो यहाँ से चले जाएं, क्योंकि यहाँ के जो इलाके के जो इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं उनके ऊपर मकामी लोग हैं, उनको हुक्मरानी का हक़ है। क्या हमारे मकामी जो लोग हैं उनके अंदर कैपेसिटी नहीं है कि पंजाब से और पाकिस्तान से हुक्मरान यहाँ लाए जाएं?
Sering further questioned Pakistan's constitutional standing in the region, asserting that Islamabad frequently references UN resolutions but has failed to implement meaningful political reforms in POGB. He called for a reassessment of governance structures and greater local representation.
पाकिस्तान बार बार अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा की जो है रेजोल्यूशंस का जिक्र करता रहता है, करारदादों का, तो उस रेजोल्यूशन पे वो अमल करे और फ़ौरन यहाँ से निकल जाए। जिस तरह कि उस खातून ने कहा है कि आप यहाँ से दफ़ा हो जाएं, आपके यहाँ पे कोई काम नहीं है, क्योंकि हमारा जो आइनी रिश्ता है वो भारत के साथ है, और जब पाकिस्तान यहाँ से निकलेगा तो हम भारत के साथ बराह रास्त डायरेक्ट गुफ्तगू करके अपने हुकूक जो हैं, आइनी हुकूक और क़ानूनी और जो पॉलिटिकल हुकूक हैं उसके बारे में हम बात कर सकते हैं।
The current unrest highlights a recurring pattern: limited political representation, delayed infrastructure development, and growing frustration among residents. As women increasingly take leadership roles in the protests, the crisis in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan is no longer just about water and power. It is about rights, representation, and legitimacy. Dekho Apna Desh isn't just a slogan, it's a vibe. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision invites Indians to explore homegrown gems before flying abroad, and Gandhi Sagar in Madhya Pradesh is one of them. Set along the Chambal River, it is no longer just a dam, it's a rising eco-tourism hotspot. Think stunning landscapes, adventure trails, a safe zone for endangered vultures, and a massive reservoir powering local livelihoods. This is how travel is reshaping lives, one destination at a time. Straddling the Mandsaur-Neemuch border in Madhya Pradesh, Gandhi Sagar is a dream spot for nature lovers. Backed by Madhya Pradesh tourism, the Gandhi Sagar Forest Retreat isn't just a stay, it's an experience. Think luxury in the wild, mornings on eco trails, butterfly park walls, and pure city-free calm. Visitors leave not just refreshed but informed and inspired.
गांधी सागर फॉरेस्ट रिट्रीट इको टूरिज्म के क्षेत्र में लगातार बहुत अच्छा कार्य कर रहा है। बाहर से आने वाले पर्यटक यहाँ पर स्टे और फूड के साथ साथ वाटर स्पोर्ट्स, लैंड एक्टिविटीज़, जंगल में घूमने का एक रोमांचकारी अनुभव, उसके साथ बटरफ्लाई गार्डन और यहाँ के इतिहास, पुरातत्व कला और यहाँ की जैव विविधता से भी परिचित होकर जाते हैं। गांधी सागर फॉरेस्ट रिट्रीट के माध्यम से देश भर से आने वाले पर्यटक गांधी सागर की अपने साथ एक ऐसी याद लेकर जाते हैं जो उम्र भर उनके साथ में रहती है।
Gandhi Sagar is fast becoming a go-to destination for the next generation. Adventure lovers can dive into water sports on the Chambal River, while the iconic Gandhi Sagar Dam stands as a marvel of engineering. The vast reservoir offers postcard-perfect views, and ancient rock art and nighttime stargazing adds a unique edge, especially for young travelers. With government-developed facilities, Gandhi Sagar now offers a complete tourism experience.
ठीक है, चंबल नदी में बोटिंग और कायाकिंग वगैरह ये सब हमने अभी एक्सपीरियंस किया है। जिस तरह से भारत सरकार हमारे पर्यटकों के लिए चीज़ें बढ़ा रही हैं और जिससे इससे देखा जाए जो आजकल का यूथ है जिसको इन चीज़ों का एक्सपीरियंस करना चाहिए, और ख़ासकर जेंजीज़ के लिए जो आजकल ट्रेंड का शब्द है जेंजी, ठीक है, उनको भी इसका एक्सपीरियंस करना चाहिए।
यहाँ पर शांति और सुकून जो है, जो पर्यटक शांति और सुकून ढूंढने आते हैं उनके लिए बेस्ट जगह है। सरकार ने जो है एमपीटी ने बहुत अच्छी जगह बना रखी है, और अगर आप यहाँ आते हैं तो बहुत सारी एक्टिविटीज़ जो है वो सारी देखने को मिलती है। वाटर एक्टिविटीज़ हो, लैंड एक्टिविटीज़ हो, या फिर गांधी सागर डैम हो, वो भी पर्यटक के लिए बहुत अच्छा बना हुआ है।
But Gandhi Sagar isn't just about travel pics and weekend getaways. The real goal of Dekho Apna Desh or Explore Your Own Country is local jobs. The massive Gandhi Sagar Reservoir is the backbone of the local economy. Tourism creates work for guides and hospitality staff, while fisheries sustain thousands of fishermen.
इको पर्यटन के साथ साथ यहाँ पे फिशरीज़ की एक्टिविटी भी बहुत अधिक मात्रा में होती है। यहाँ पर लगभग हमारे पास 2800 मछुआरे हैं जो विभिन्न मत्स्य सहकारी समितियों से जुड़े हुए हैं, जिसमें से 1000 के आसपास सक्रिय मछुआरे हैं। अगर एक परिवार के 4-5 सदस्यों को भी मान लिया जाए तो 1000 मछुआरों को सक्रिय रूप से रोजगार मिलता है, और लगभग 3 से 4 हज़ार लोगों को इनडायरेक्टली भी रोजगार प्राप्त होता है।
Beyond tourism and jobs, Gandhi Sagar is a biodiversity hotspot. This vast wetland turns into a winter hangout for thousands of migratory birds and flamingos from India and beyond. It's also a safe zone for endangered vultures, while crocodiles and otters signal a thriving ecosystem. Even as ecotourism grows, the focus stays on protecting this fragile natural balance.
गांधी सागर एक बहुत बड़ा वेटलैंड है। यहाँ पर प्रति वर्ष हज़ारों की संख्या में माइग्रेटेड बर्ड आते हैं, और ये आप जो पीछे देख रहे हैं यहाँ पर वल्चर जो विलुप्त की कगार पे हैं, जो मध्य प्रदेश में 2 जगह ही मिलते हैं। एक तो अपना गांधी सागर है, यहाँ पर मिलते हैं, और दूसरा जो है पन्ना टाइगर रिजर्व में पाए जाते हैं। गवर्नमेंट भी जो इसके लिए इको टूरिज़्म को बढ़ावा देने के लिए कई पॉलिसीज़ और इसको चल रहा है, और यहाँ पे टूरिज़्म को आकर्षित करने के लिए भी यहाँ पे फॉरेस्ट रिट्रीट टेंट सिटी है। यहाँ पे टूरिज़्म आते हैं और यहाँ रुकते हैं, यहाँ का एक्सप्लोर करते हैं। यहाँ पे जो जलीय जीव भी बहुत सारे प्रकार के यहाँ पाए जाते हैं, जिसमें ओटर से उदबिलाव, मगरमच्छ है यहाँ पर, और सबसे बड़ी बात यहाँ पर है कि फ्लेमिंगो, जो हजारों की संख्या में फ्लेमिंगो माइग्रेट होकर यहाँ आते हैं।
Gandhi Sagar shows how ecotourism can protect nature while uplifting local lives. It blends calm, adventure, jobs, and natural beauty, capturing the spirit of a new, confident India. If you're craving a break from the fast lane, Gandhi Sagar is calling. Explore the country, take pride in it. Gandhi Sagar isn't just a getaway. It's a shining example of how ecotourism, conservation, and local livelihoods are coming together under the spirit of Dekho Apna Desh to power a more confident, self-reliant India. And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Till then, goodbye and take care.